Of fear and resentment and retrenchment began to appear. And that kind of politics is now on the move. It's on a move at a pace that would have seemed unimaginable just a few years ago. I am not being alarmist, I am simply stating the facts. Look around. Strongman politics are ascendant suddenly, whereby elections and some pretense of democracy are maintained, the form of it, but those in power seek to undermine every institution or norm that gives democracy meaning.
Joke about rising fascism in America and the fall of democracy, I really thought I was being, like, over the top.
Staten Island niggas still puffing dust blunts. Representing Staten Island.
I mean, like, all kidding aside, I'm a high school dropout. I never thought the words autocracy and kleptocracy would be in my vernacular. I just never thought that that would be a thing.
Staten Island niggas still puffing dust blunts.
It's very, very difficult and frustrating to have progressive ideology living on Staten Island, or as I call it, North Texas. Example, your weed dealer pulls away and he's got a Trump Pence hat sitting on his back windshield. This is real life.
Representing Staten Island. Staten Island niggas still puffing dust blunts.
The most important thing you can do for me listening to this podcast is to not get sidetracked with distractions and nonsense. There is a person occupying the Oval Office who has committed crimes every single day of his life. And the only way to combat this is not to look at polls. It's to go vote in November.
Staten Island niggas still puffing dust blunts. Representing Staten Island.
Want to hear a little story about some of those people who are going to be voting in November? I'll tell you. People that value guns over children. People who think the South will rise again. People that think ending slavery was a failed experiment. White nationalists.
Representing Staten Island. Staten Island niggas still puffing dust blunts.
Be a part of ending the rise of fascism and the fall of democracy in America by keeping it locked to East Coast radio, Dyze in your house, and hit the polls in November.
Hey yo, who's in the house? Dyze in your house. What is the word, peeps? What goes on? It is Friday, and we are here with another action-packed edition of Dyze in your house. This is the pre-show, the post-show, and the prelude to the J Porks podcast. The J Porks podcast is our Monday long-form show that we do, where we go in-depth and dive deep down under the sea. Couple of leagues. We talk about Mueller, we talk about the Russia probe, we talk about endless vines of corruption that come from the grapevine that is the White House. We talk about it all. But the corruption got so large, the scope of all of the criminal activity is so big, is so vast, that I needed to not only add a Friday podcast to the mix, I needed to start my own podcast network. And that's what this is. This is Least Coast Radio, for the least heard voices. And on Least Coast Radio, you are going to get brand new episodes of Dyze in Your House every Friday. It's a short form. It's usually about 20-30 minutes. Give you some quick hits. Let you know what you're looking forward to on Monday. But also, and I would pledge to Patreon if you haven't yet. If you go to patreon.com/JPorks, there are several options, several tiers that can get you more content, more Dyze in Your House, and more Least Coast Radio exclusive things. Become a Least Coast Radio head. Several different levels. And you could join us and figure out, you could join us and help us sow the seed, figure out where all this corruption is leading. Moscow. That's spoiler. That's where it ends. So we had treason on live television on Monday. On Wednesday, I came to you with an action-packed an action-packed episode of Dyze in Your House here on Least Coast Radio. And if you haven't checked it out, Maria Butina, we were talking about her, but we weren't talking about the sex. I didn't know there was sex involved. Now this got interesting. But this is something that the Russians have been doing for a while. Again, Maria Butina is not a result of the Mueller probe. That is regular U.S. attorneys seeing some fishy activity and following the money their own way. So, there was no witches or covens or anything like that involved in that. But I just want to say, it's Michael McFaul, former ambassador to Russia under Obama, right? Trump offered to give him to the Russians. Is that not crazy to anybody? Is that not, totally insane? And I'm not talking about, just in terms of, because I like Michael McFaul's critiques on Trump and his book. But, what goes on in life where U.S. officials, people that work for the State Department and work for the government officials, are being offered up to hostile foreign powers in some sort of conspiracy theory mind meld? When it's not Russia hacked into our elections, yeah, but Bill Browder and Hillary Clinton. They're not equivalencies. They're not the same. One is a wacky conspiracy theory that never happened, put forth by a crazy fascist, I don't know if Putin's fascist, but a crazy authoritarian dictator. And one is something that is happening and still happening. And even though all our intelligence agencies tell us that this is still happening, Trump goes on TV and says that they're not a threat, that Russia's no longer a cyber threat. Is that just like North Korea's no longer a nuclear threat? Because I have a feeling that we don't know shit about that. So to sit there and we got a 2-hour meeting where no one's allowed in besides interpreters, and we're at the point where, they come out and Putin's like, yeah, well, I can't wait to get started on all that stuff we agreed to. What stuff you agreed to? Anyone gonna fill us in? The rest of the government? What did they agree to? We don't know. Democrats want to subpoena the translator. And I don't know what the president is for that. But I know that the translator is not a stenographer, and the translator is not a note taker. And the translator doesn't know what's classified and not classified. So you're going to have that translator in a closed session, and what do they remember? We don't know. I mean, this is Trump's people we're talking about. They're not exactly the most vetted, That guy, Rob Porter or whatever his name was. All these people that get to work in the White House that can't get security clearances. So how do you know this guy, the interpreter, is not some sick stoner, you know what I'm saying? Who just sits home and puffs a bong all day. I mean, you don't know that. We don't know that. Nobody knows. So how do we know what this person is going to remember? And how do we know if we could even subpoena a translator? I've never heard of that being a thing before. And listen, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that world leaders can't have a little chat. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that world leaders that are under investigation for colluding with each other can't have a chat alone and can't agree to things without, you know, letting other people in the US government know what's going on. And can't agree to extradition of government officials like Michael McFaul and freaking financer Bill Browder, who Putin was like, gave $400 million to Hillary Clinton. I got news for you. There is no, that's not a thing. And Uranium One is not a thing. And isn't it crazy that of all the emails, we've been reading Peter Strzok's texts, we got Don Jr.'s emails, Roger Stone's emails, you know, John Podesta's emails. You know whose emails we don't have? We don't have Hillary Clinton's emails. Maybe the person who knew about security. You know, maybe she wasn't so careless after all. Just saying. So, I mean, like, all people that work for the government should be stepping up and speaking out and saying, wait a second. You can't actually, it's a false equivalency. And not only that, like, so Trump says he's talking in Helsinki about how, you know, the would or the wouldn't. Sure. But reports come out, and I mean, I'm sure we all knew this already, but on January 17th, 2017, before the inauguration, Trump was shown proof, direct proof, that Vladimir Putin had an influence campaign going on this to help Trump win. He was showed, not the Russian government, he was showed direct proof that Vladimir Putin directed these attacks. And the report says that he begrudgingly accepted the assessment. Because it was so, like, they had text messages. Or something, I mean, I didn't read the whole story because we don't do reading on the Dyze in Your House. We just riff it. We don't write it, we recite it off the top of the dome. So, like, you knew for a year, and you still sat down with this guy for 2 hours alone? Listen, I mean, you can pretend that Trump is a good businessman. You could pretend that that's real, that's not. You could pretend he's good at branding and marketing. You could pretend that, even though everything he touches dies. But one thing you can't pretend. You can't pretend that Donald Trump is a tough guy. Like, you can't pretend that he goes into that meeting like, yeah, better stop messing around. Better stop helping me. Like, I doubt that's a thing that ever would happen in life. So people have to take a step back and realize that when they came into that room, it looked like Putin had just ejaculated, and it looked like Trump was still swallowing. And I know that that's wrong of me to say, and I know that I shouldn't be so foul and disgusting, but you know what? When you take a sledgehammer to democracy and you just don't care about it anymore, that's more disgusting than everything. When you call the press the enemy of the people, you know what that's the signs of? That's the signs of a tyrant. And remember, you all want to keep your guns to protect you from the tyrannical government that's coming to get you. That's what Republicans told me in 2016. When I was having Second Amendment arguments about guns. They said you need a gun to protect you from the tyrannical government. You mean the tyrannical government that you elected? The tyrannical government that you support? The treasonous GOP? All of these guys are complicit. Remember the tape with Paul Ryan. Remember that Paul Ryan is on recording saying, I think that there's two people on Russia's payroll, Rohrabacher and Trump. And the whole room laughed. And he says, I swear to God, I think it's true. And then said it was a joke, even though it was a private conversation. After saying, no leaks, right? We're all family here. Yeah, we're all family. You know what, we're not all patriots. We ain't all Americans. Some of us are treason weasels who deserve to be, I don't want to say burned at the stake, but deserve to die in jail. A lot of these people deserve to die in prison But you know what? I would settle with these people being broke for the rest of their life. I would settle for the entire Trump family being broke for the rest of their lives while having to watch PBS documentaries, 4-hour-long PBS documentaries about all the corruption that ensued. Like Nixon.
Open the world of music.
I just want that to be a thing. I mean, we could hope for more than that. I really want justice to happen. And I was telling my mom is like, because I watch MSNBC so much now, and I watch in the living room, and she's like, when are they gonna get rid of this guy? And I'm like, Ma, there's an investigation going on. There's an investigation. And I was telling my buddy who works the bagel store by me the other day, I was telling him, I said, listen, these institutions have lasted over 200 years. We can't think that Donald Trump, the guy who can't keep a business afloat, is going to be the one to ruin democracy. Democracy might die, but not because of this loser. Not because of Donald J. Trump. That's not a thing. So, just amazing. I mean, and the walk back with the would and the wouldn't. And then it's just crazy. And my girlfriend's lucky. I told my girlfriend was camping this week. So I said, you're so lucky you didn't have to watch treason on live television. It was literally treason. And Democratic candidates, any 2020 Democratic candidates have to understand that what we saw was treason. And if you don't say that out loud, then take yourself off. Obama says he wants Joe Biden to run. Obama killed it in Africa the other day. Did anyone see that? Did I talk about that on Wednesday? I don't know. I think I was on Wednesday. I think I was all up in Maria Butina. But there was the Nelson Mandela lecture or something. Obama was giving a lecture and he was using like sentences and big words. And I was like, man, I miss this stuff. Throwing shade at Trump without saying his name. But I think in an interview he said the person he'd want to see challenge Trump in 2020 is Joe Biden. I'm sorry. I love Joe Biden. But one thing he does good, besides being, you know, awesome vice president and, you know, Uncle Joe, is the other thing he's really good at is running for president and not winning. So we can't have that. And we can't be a party of minorities and women and throw an old white man out to represent us. We just can't do that. I'm sorry. People want to say that's identity politics. You know what? Everything is identity politics. Everything is single issue voters. Everything. It's all about identity. For instance, Trump pretends to be rich. People buy that. Because that's what he pretends to be. So I'm talking to Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris, need to get those Twitter followers up. You need more of a reach. Cory Booker, keep doing what you're doing. Cory Booker's got a lot of Twitter followers. And Elizabeth Warren is also somebody who I would feel good about going up against Trump. So Warren, Booker, and Harris. Now, out of those three, one of them could be the VP, or Sally Yates could be the VP. She tweeted the other day she tweeted for the first time in a while, and I think that people have said that, you know, that's something that she might actually be into. You know, I'm not always sure about, like, you know, attorney generals and deputies and directors of FBI. Like, I'm not sure about these people that served in, like, the law enforcement field and in, like, the judiciary field. I'm not sure, like, about always if they want to run, you know, if they want to, like, seek higher office. But Sally Yates is the one that wouldn't enforce the Muslim ban, and that got her fired. So, I think she can work as a VP. To anybody. And she's a woman. So, There's that. And listen, anybody endorsed by Bernie Sanders is cool with me, because I want to move the party to the left. Because the problem is, as much as I love Obama and his big words and his long sentences and his big, fat, long sentences and big, thick paragraphs, as much as I like that stuff, he was too in the middle. He was too Bill Clinton. He was too Hillary Clinton. Like, you know, oh, okay, so in order to have power, we need to, you know, reach across the screw that. No, we don't. Here's what we need to do. These people turning 18, get them to vote. These disenfranchised voters, get them to vote. 93 million Americans didn't vote, and that's insanity to me. And if everybody can reach one friend who didn't vote, and they could say, listen, I need you for this. The midterms is the most important. Listen, vote like it's the most important election of your life. It is. Because we need to take our effing country back, okay? Ours. Young people. People who aren't old, white, and rich. And I'm not talking about people that have a little bit of money because they had a job and a pension. I'm talking about people that were handed money and, you know, offshore accounts rich. I'm talking too much money people. I'm talking people that, you know, have too much money. So much that you don't need it. Obama said it the other day. Obama said, I've made a lot of money since leaving office. I don't need it all. It's too much. It's too much. There's only so much you can have. He was talking about how, like, rich people, like the very wealthy, could make everyone else not poor and still be the richest people in the world. But they don't want to do that. And that's why the global mafia is coming down. The reason why the global mafia is coming down, the reason why former heads of state are getting indicted and stuff like that, the reason why corruption is being seeded out is because these people had too much money and they ran out of places to hide it, and it was found. And all you gotta do is follow the money. You follow the money and it leads you to the corruption. And that's what's happening. So just, I mean, I'm trusting in my institutions right now, and you guys gotta do the same. Because together we're gonna take back our country. Both millennials, people before millennials. Like, listen, I just spent a year, the last couple of years, since 6th grade, so it was 2.5 years, 3 years. I spent 3 years with people born in 2004, right? The people in the class that I worked. They became like my friends. Most of them. They're nice kids. You know, they're not their parents. They're nice kids. I don't want those kids to get older and have an America that I didn't grow up in. I want them to have a better America than I grew up in. And the idea is that we need to make, with each generation, we need to make improvements to our country. And not get into these anti-brown ideologies. People, here's what you have to understand. In 20 years, there will be more Muslims than Christians. Okay? That's not because of immigration. That's not because of anything besides there's more young Muslims than young Christians right now. So, the world is going to become more brown. And you know what? You're listening to me, so you probably are okay with that. You're probably thinking, Jay, what's the problem? There ain't no problem. I'm cool with it. But these old white people are not. The GOP, they're not comfortable with it. Because they're not, when brown people, they're afraid of brown people. They're afraid of people that don't believe in, you know, the readings of the Bible. They think that America is for freedom of religion unless it's a religion you don't agree with. Like, people are okay to be Jewish in America because Christians stole the religion. But like, if you want to become Muslim, if you want to be a Muslim, oh no, you can't be Muslim. That's terrorist. Yeah, but where do you think Jews got the religion from? Yeah, I mean, come on, get it together. I mean, I'm no religious science, political science, religious expert here. But listen, the world is becoming more brown, and what you need to do to make that good is to stop fearing brown people. Stop thinking that brown people aren't on the same level as you because you're white. Because nobody is from America. You know who the first people are in America? Native Americans. You know what color they are? Not white. The idea that you could discover land that people are already on is insane. And I talk about that every Columbus Day, so I don't need to touch on that anymore. But like, everyone's from a different place. So when was the cutoff date? And just want to go back to Helsinki really fast. Trump mentioned that his mom was an immigrant from Scotland. Hold on. Your mom immigrated from Scotland? Your mom's not from America? Whoa. So what does that make you? How do I know you're from here? I'm gonna need to see a birth certificate. Am I not? Is that not fair to ask? You're the child of immigrants? And you came here to be prosperous? And then you don't want other people to do that? I'm gonna need to see a birth certificate. J Porks, Dyze in your house.
Representing Staten Island.
Hey yo, J Porks here, back to recording my own commercials. And here's the deal. You may have heard me complaining on today's podcast or a previous podcast about suffering through a summer of unemployment. Well, we have a fix for that, and it is called Patreon. That's right. East Coast Radio now has a Patreon page, and all you need to do is go to patreon.com/jporks, and there are 3 tiers that you can subscribe to, 3 tiers you can join to become a member of East Coast Radio, of the East Coast Radio community, of Porks Nation. You'll even have a chance to pick the name and all that stuff. And we are not offering just thank yous and shout outs. We got bonus content. There is even a tier where you are able to talk to me on the phone every week. And we will go over what is happening in our country. And you could personally talk to me, J Pork. Personal interactions. There's a tier where there's a group. You can join a group, and you could affect where the podcast goes that week. I need a community. I need help. Not necessarily money, but I need people to be helping me out. So therefore, that's why I created a East Coast Radio Patreon. Not to be confused with a GoFundMe or a Kickstarter. This is not me with my hand out. I have bonus content. Bonus content to offer you. I have tons of it. I have tons of time, and I want to give it to you. All you need to do is join us on Patreon. Become a Patreon. Patreon.com/jporks. Look for the East Coast Radio Patreon page. You'll see me. You'll see me with a microphone and Dyze in my house. Dyze in your house next to the name. You'll see that. So just go hit us on Patreon. You will get a thank you. I will know that, and you will have a lot to do with what goes down on the J Porks podcast and everything concerned with East Coast Radio. It's going to be a big year for us. 2018. Let's get it done.